Welcome to Computer Retro Bus. In this video, we're continuing on with our Athlon 64 system, which was rescued from Facebook Marketplace. What we'll do in this video is install a fresh copy of Windows XP, get some benchmarks, get some games, and see if we can get it back to its glory days. So I picked this computer up as a package of 4 for $20. Doesn't get better than that. So it's a pretty good system. It's an Athlon 64 3000 plus. Very good. Cleanup wise, this system gave me hell. My God, it was filthy. Dusty, thermal paste all over the place, hardened like concrete. I'll put a link to that video as well. You can check it out, see the torment, but it's nice, clean, ready to go. So let's see what it can do. So just to go over the system that we're working with, we have an AMD Athlon 64 3000 plus that is running at 1800 megahertz. It comes with 2 GB of DDR RAM. I swapped out the RAM from the one that came with the box originally because one of the sticks was corroded. And we also have a GeForce 9400 GT with 512 meg of DDR2 RAM. We begin by installing Windows XP. I'm installing it onto a 500 GB SATA hard drive that I had laying around. It's a Seagate 7200 RPM drive, so that should be pretty good. Just going through the process, installing Windows XP and setting up an account till we get to that lovely screen that we're all familiar with. We'll begin by installing the drivers. First, we'll start with the Enforce 4 Ultra chipset drivers. This was NVIDIA's answer to the golden age of AMD dominance. Back in the mid-2000s, this chipset was the backbone of serious gaming rigs. It had PCI Express, SATA 3.0, and even a gigabit LAN. Pure luxury for 2004. And onto our sound card, the dreaded AC97 from Realtek. Produced just enough decent sound to save you enough money that you'd rather put towards your graphics card. Speaking of which, next I'm installing the drivers for the GeForce 9400, a card that existed mostly so NVIDIA could say that they had something for the budget segment. It showed up in 2008, 4 years after the rest of this system, but this is pretty common. A lot of people used to do this. You wouldn't upgrade your whole system, you didn't need to. The CPU and motherboard were fine, you would just upgrade your video card to keep up with those latest games. Alright, now, I don't know about you guys, but updating the BIOS scares the shit out of me. It's just something that always makes me nervous. So, I'm going to do it. I'm about 5 versions behind. So what we've got here is version 105. The last one was 113, so it's quite a few behind. So, what do I have to lose, right? So I used Asus Update BIOS utility, which made it feel a bit more safer than using the command line stuff. I know some people are more comfortable with the command line, but to me this is just a nice and easy utility to just select the new BIOS and hit next. Okay, it looks like we're successful. Here we go, version 113. The reason I'm obviously nervous is because this is how you can brick a computer. I've never personally done it yet, but I have had friends that have. So, you know, seeing the distress that it's caused, it's just etched in my memory. Flashing a BIOS is not to be messed with. It's something you take seriously. Okay, now let's get to the fun stuff, the benchmarking. We'll start that off with Far Cry. So we would expect this to run Far Cry pretty comfortably. This card was released 4 years after Far Cry. And right away we can see very nice, comfortable frame rates to play this game. You know, we're hitting the 60s, 70s. Lots of smooth action, especially for a high-paced first-person shooter such as Far Cry. Moving on to Painkiller. Now this game was released around the same time that the CPU was, so 2004. It performs really well with this video card obviously, which was released much later. The frame rates tend to fluctuate between 70 and 90 in general. Very playable, dips more when there's a lot of characters on screen really, but it's still, it rarely goes below 60. Very smooth, playable and fun. Looking at Need for Speed Underground. This game seems to be locked at a frame cap of 60 frames per second, so it doesn't go over, and it tends to stay in the 50s mostly. Sometimes it dips to the 40s when there's quite a lot of geometry, but when there is more simple geometry like going through the tunnel for example, it just locks on at 60. Yeah, very playable, smooth, easy game for this card. Going on to the sequel, Need for Speed Underground 2. This is with the graphics at low detail. You can see the card does not struggle with it at all. It's actually got higher frame rates than the original Need for Speed Underground. This game doesn't have the frame cap of 60 frames per second like the original Need for Speed Underground did. But with the lower details, you can see it's very, very comfortable. Smooth, 60s, 70s frame rates. Occasionally dips into the 50s. However, when I've cranked the details right up to maximum, then the card does start getting pushed. You can see it's much more into the 20s here, mid-20s. Graphics look great, beautiful reflections, textures, great lighting, but it really does push the graphics card a little bit more. Still, it's all mid-20s, playable, not terrible, but yes, not as comfortable with it as it is with the lower details. Looking at Return to Castle Wolfenstein now, the game looks fantastic. The textures, the lighting, amazing. Really good on this card. Frame rate, obviously very high. Unsurprising really, this is an early game for this card, so it does handle it very much with ease, which we shouldn't be surprised about, but yeah, really playable and lots of fun. On to Counterstrike now. With Counterstrike, the frame rate is up and down all over the place a little bit. It sort of goes from the 50s to up high to the 150s really. It all depends on what you are looking at. If it's a simple area, in a closed area, in a tunnel with no players in the scene, then it's fine. It's really up in the mid 100s. But as soon as other characters, or other players rather, are on your screen, then the performance does take a bit of a hit and the frame rate drops to the 50s and 60s. On to 3D Mark 2001. Here we're going to expect a pretty high score. I mean, this is a pretty old benchmark and it's a very new video card. However, it does still underperform compared to looking at the reviews at the time for this card, and I think that's largely due to the big gap between the video card itself and the processor that it's attached to. So clearly this system was upgraded from the original system to a video card later, so it could keep gaming. So the final 3D Mark score is 14,854, which is very much below what you'd expect from this card. But a lot of the benchmarks at the time that get scores of 25,000, etc. are run on systems that run Core 2 Duos with DDR2 memory. Moving on to 3D Mark 03, you would expect a decent score because this video card came out 5 years after this benchmark was created. So it should be somewhat decent, but again, we will see how much the CPU, motherboard and RAM hold it back. So looking at our final score, it's 7,117, which is good for a 2004 system, but not great for a 2008 system for what this card is. So the expected score for this card is between 10 and 14,000. And so you can really see that the CPU is holding it back. And that is all for this episode. So overall, it's a pretty good system. I'm actually happy with it. I love the processor and the motherboard, fantastic. Video card, meh, but a lot of very good parts in this one. And I'm really looking forward to building other systems and running different benchmarks on it. But I think it's a great system to have in my collection, so I don't regret it at all. The only thing I do regret is this case, though. This is very regrettable. It is horrible. It's missing a side panel anyway. So once I find something a bit more better and a bit more appropriate, I'll replace that. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.